Welcome to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kerry Stevenson. Today, I'm speaking with Glenn Deemer. He's the Managing Director of Australian Gold and Copper.
We are in a great mining district, so it's a very short time frame from discovery to mine, if the economics work on the discovery. So
you just mentioned a moment ago that you've got 5 drill-ready targets and that you've done the work. Why are you confident, and what are you going to be doing? When is this all going to start to happen?
Great. So I've done a fair bit of research in the last 24 months on what the signatures, I get, let's call it the geological signatures, so the geochemistry, the geophysics, etc., of each of the ore bodies throughout the Cobar Basin. I'm a geochemist by training, and so we use lead and arsenic in the soil profile. We sample the soil and use that, and we use lead and arsenic to find gold and copper, lead, zinc, silver, etc. in the deposit. Lead and arsenic don't move in the soil profile, whereas copper, zinc, etc., they're very mobile in the soil. So we can, even gold and copper are very mobile in the soil, so you can't trust them. You don't really want to put a drill hole underneath a copper or gold target, because you can't trust where the actual anomaly is sitting over the discovery, over the potential deposit. So lead and zinc don't move. I think in farmers' terms, we say sticks like shit to a sheep's ass.
Technical term there, ladies and gentlemen, technical term.
Yeah. So then pretty much all the recent discoveries through the Cobar Basin have a lead and arsenic anomaly above them.
In the soil?
Almost all in the soil. Almost all. CSA, Peak, Allura, or the new ones, Federation, Wagga-Tang, Southern Nights, Malibor, they all do. And then, because of these deposits are sulfide rich, for our retail investors at home, we up on presentations, we talk about sulfides a lot. What a sulfide is, when you have copper, it forms a mineral with sulfur. And when they bond together, you form a mineral called, for example, chalcopyrite. And that's always associated with pyrite, which is the iron sulfide. So these sulfides that geologists and managing directors constantly throw out the name are the minerals that form with the metals that we're looking for.
So no sulfides means probably
no deposit.
No deposit, no sulfide. So
correct.
Glenn, I want to find out about Australian Gold and Copper.
Yeah.
Is in the name, is that what you're focused on, gold and copper?
Certainly.
Okay.
Certainly. And we are solely focused on gold and copper because we think the fundamentals for gold and copper are fantastic. And I'm sure everyone at home does as well. The medium-term fundamentals for copper are just frightening. And I think we're all walking into a very dangerous place over the next 15 years with the supply deficit of copper. So yeah, we're certainly focused on gold and copper, but in the Cobar Basin, you get lead, zinc, and silver as well.
Okay.
The CSA copper mine, the highest grade copper mine in Australia, which has been running for 50 years and has just sold from Glencore Metals Acquisition Corp, is a copper mine, but it has lead and zinc in there as well. People don't talk about it. So
what you talked about before is you said that there are successful mines to the north of you. You're along the same belt of rocks. Is that correct?
Certainly.
And so you're thinking that there's a much higher opportunity for discovery because these metals move along the same rock formation. Would that be correct?
Correct. Absolutely. All in the same time frame. They formed at the same time, etc. So in the same group of rocks. But all the mines were to the north, Kerry. From 1870 to today, we're still mining the same mines in the north. CSA, Peak, etc. Great Cobar. Those mines are still being mined 170 years later.
Wow.
And the I guess our thesis and what I talk about at the Australian Gold what I will be talking about at your conference, the Australian Gold Conference, a lot is that the mining belts have you typically find the biggest deposit first. So John Wronski from the University of Western Australia is a professor in geology and a company director on a lot of great companies, exploration companies in throughout Australia. He says these mineral belts, you typically find the biggest one first because it has the biggest footprint.
Yep.
And then it's sort of the law of diminishing returns. You find the smaller ones and the smaller ones and the smaller ones, and it gets quite hard to find. So instead of looking it's higher risk to look in a mature mining district. Go and look south or north or along strike where seldom explorers haven't looked before. So we've just, we haven't done anything overly smart, Kerry. We've just gone, well, that's a crowded belt up there. We're just going to head south. And literally, the deposits down here, we're finding all these anomalies just stick out of the ground. There's stuff that we've announced, about 13 announcements since February of high-grade gold rock chips in Cobar style deposits sticking out of the ground. We've got so our two main methods are soil geochemistry and IP geophysics. And IP geophysics is instrumental is the other thing. So lead, arsenic in soils, and then IP geophysics to look underneath. That's how all the deposits have these signatures, and we can pick up the underground signatures with IP geophysics because of those sulfide minerals. So it's quite simple: soils and IP geophysics. We've got 5 amazing targets, and those two methods together will discover most of the deposits through the Cobar Basin.
So these 5 new drill targets, that's in the Cobar Basin, but there's 3 districts, correct? So you got those mature mines in the north.
Yes.
And then you've got these 5 drill targets.
There's 3, I guess, 3 main zones in the Cobar Basin. There's the mature mining district, and then there's the belt in between us and the mature mining district, which is sort of between Aurelia Metals and Peel Mining have got that ground, 2 great companies working through our area. And there's been about 5 or 6 amazing discoveries, Kerry, in the last decade in the belt between us and Aurelia and the mature mining district. And that is critical because that shows that this is an old mining district, but there's new discoveries.
Why has the discoveries
are coming south.
I just want to ask you this: if there's such a high opportunity for discovery, why didn't some of these other companies grab these tenements before you?
Yeah, it's a great question. Why didn't we all go and peg Escondida before Magma? I think it was Magma Copper back then, before BHP and Rio bought it. I wish we did.
I guess you can't peg everything.
You can't peg everything, and you certainly can't explore everything. So BHP drilled 3 40-meter holes into one of our projects here in 1980. I think my parents worked for BHP back then. That's how long ago it was. And there just wasn't much exploration. In our belt, it was noticed in around 1997 by a very prominent geologist, Gary Jones, Dr. Gary Jones, who was the lead discoverer for the North Parkes mine for GeoPico, and then he also went on and pegged the ground at Lake Cow. Now, that's the 11 million ounce gold mine that GeoPico found, later became Barrick, and then Evolution Mining. So then after that, he came to our belt and saw that this trend of ours, wow, this looks just like the deposits in the north. So he came back with 2 companies, once in 1997 and another time in 2006, and he did the most work. So 2 decades, a decade apart, and then we came in a decade after that, and have really taken this leaps and leaps
Okay,
and
so
bounds.
what are you doing? What are you doing that's different from the previous people that makes you think that they didn't discover anything? They worked on it and went away. So
Yeah.
why is Australian Gold and Copper going to be any different?
So what they did, they got us into the area, but we've been focused on systematic exploration down the best belts. We've traced this one horizon, let's call it sort of a fertile horizon, for about 100 kilometers, and everywhere it has a little inflection, we see alteration on surface. We see a soil geochemical anomaly on surface, and then we do IP over it, the geophysics over it, and we've gotten this geophysics anomaly. So I think we've worked out the timing of the mineralization, and look, we've been a little bit leveraged as well. We've got an amazing team, like you said. We've got the petrologist that has worked in the Cobar Basin for the last 20 years, Dr. Carol Simpson. She's incredible. She did all of Peel's work and right up through there for the government over the last 20 years. We've got the work that a PhD volcanologist did under one of the greatest volcanologists that essentially wrote volcanology in Australia. They did their PhD over our ground. We've got Vlad David, who did his structural PhD in the Cobar Basin. He works for us and consults with it. So we're a bit spoiled, Kerry. I'll say I'm the youngest of 3 kids. I've been spoiled all my life. And I think here we're spoiled with good people that work with us and good advice.
All right, so talk to to the audience about where you see the milestones. I'm talking to you end of the financial year, going into the next one. I want to find out for our audience what you think the milestones are. You talk to us about 5 drill ready targets. Get into the real guts of this for us, if you could.
For sure. So always drill your best one first. We've got one sticking out of the ground with consistent rock chips. So we're going to drill Hilltop first, which is one of ours, and then we'll move up to the other 4. Now, Hilltop, we're very confident that we will return some significant intersections. And why am I so confident? Because we can see it on surface. We have 3 stacked loads. Let's say 3 stacked horizons, each with gold in them, and consistent gold. So we took 47 rock chips, 23 of those came back above a gram, and 13 of them came above 2 grams. So, and up to 6.6 grams. So consistent. I don't want one at 200-gram gold and then the rest at below detection limit. That's, that for some people, that's a headline announcement, 200 grams rock chips. But really, as a managing director, you want consistent grades through your gossans, so through your mineralized trends, because you can kind of hang your hat on that a bit more. So we're going to put about 1,500 meters of drilling, RC, all very cost effective, shallow drill holes into the oxide zone, because that's where you get the highest grades of copper and gold, right in the bit above the water table. So you can get very high grades, 20% coppers in those at that. It's a bit complex, but it's right at the water table where the old miners used to mine down to and mine, because you get very high grades of copper and gold, and that's what Sandfire DeGrussa hit when they discovered the DeGrussa deposit. So they
When is this drill, Glenn? When's that drill bit getting into the ground?
So I'd like to say July, towards the end of July, but I think we'll say August, to give ourselves a bit of leeway.
Why the
we've got
time? Why not tomorrow?
Sure. It's drilling is it sounds simple, Kerry, but there are 100 steps to do before you get to the drilling. We've got landholder sign off. We've got permitting in with the government now underway. That's
Right.
all fine. But it's just piecing it all together, Kerry. So we would love to do it tomorrow, but yeah, let's. There's a lot to organise before we go and do that. So we've drilled a lot since we IPO'd 2.5 years ago. We've drilled 10 different campaigns on 13,000 meters. So we certainly know exactly how to do it.
And these 5 targets that you're
Yep.
hoping to do, they're all around Lake Cargilligo. I think that's how you call it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like
All around there. So that's your focus for the moment, even though you've got 5 projects, because you've got Cargilligo, you've got Gundagai, and you've got more.
Yeah.
But for the moment, it's Lake
Yep.
Cargilligo, which is your focus. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And that is because when you step back and look, where should we be exploring in New South Wales? We've had mining permits go through in the Cobar Basin, which is where Lake Cargilligo is. It's in the Cobar Mining District, very recently. So we've got major miners there. We've got Sandfire. We've just had Glencore leave. They've CSA mine got purchased by the Metals Acquisition Corp for $1.1 billion US, Kerry.
Wow.
So these are great discoveries to find. We've got some great mining companies there. There's multiple mines and a great mining district. So this is sort of not a new area. It's just south of a mature mining district. So we know we can get permitting there. We know there's big companies there who might want to support us in funding operations in the future. For example, it's about optionality for us.
Okay, we're running out of time, so I really want to. So you're going to be at the Australian Gold Conference, which, ladies and gentlemen, go to goldevents.com.au. You can actually come and talk to Glenn in person. Now that's the end of August, so I'm going to push you a little bit here and say, Glenn, do you reckon you might have some?
I reckon we might. I reckon we definitely might.
Okay, so go on.
The great thing about when we do drill is we know very quickly. This is not a pure gold deposit where you can't see the gold. This is, you get copper with it, you get lead with it, you get zinc with it, so you can see it visually. You don't know the gold grades, obviously, but you've got a pretty good idea of the copper grades. Also, we're a little bit cheeky. We always hit it with every sample with the PXRF. So we've got a pretty good idea that we've hit something straight away. And look, we can see this on surface. It's very rare.
And for those of you out there that go, what did you just say? He said an XRF. All that is, it's like think of it like a laser that you put against the rock, and it's going to tell you
how much copper,
how much copper, how much gold,
lead,
how much mineralization you've got in there. It's very clever technology. So the way these guys are using technology to be able to understand, I guess, in a shorter time frame what's going on, it's pretty important these days, and that's why they can hit these things in a much more considered way. All right, Glenn.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like there's going to be a lot of news flow, especially leading up to the Gold Conference.
There certainly is.
If you want to come and meet him in person, then make sure you register for that. But that aside, give me 3 reasons, or give us, the audience, 3 reasons people should be looking and sitting up right now for Australian Gold and Copper.
Yeah, thanks. Firstly, we are at the front end of discovery curve. I mean, our market cap is 5 million. Our enterprise value is 2.5. Wow. When Peel discovered the Mallee Bull deposit just 50 kilometers north of us, they went from 7 cents to 70 cents in 2 months. When Sandfire discovered DeGrussa, they went from 5 cents to $5.50 on the same deposit type. Yes, in a different state, in Western Australia, but they went from $5 to $5.50 in. Oh,
I've lost him briefly.
Sorry, my alarm was going off. in a year and a half. So
Yep.
the uplift on your risk capital is just truly phenomenal. We've got some money in the bank, enough to drill the first project at least. So we will easily get that away, and we're very confident that we'll get some great results out of that first one. So we will. Secondly, we'll definitely have some results before the Australian Gold Conference, which we'll be able to talk about. And thirdly, we are a low-risk explorer. I mean, we're not in far off, most of my team have worked internationally, and lived internationally. And we know that, downsizing our risk profile to leverage into a discovery is really important for us. We can kiss our families goodbye in Orange, drive 3.5 hours to our project, and lean on the fence and talk in English with our farmer, and build trust, work for a week, and then drive home. And lowering the risk profile there is just, I just can't explain it. My parents discovered and built a mine in Thailand in the 90s. There has not been another gold mine built in Thailand since. The risk profile in doing it internationally is huge. The risk profile of doing it here is incredibly low. So we are highly leveraged to a discovery in terms of your return on invested capital.
All right.
And we're a low risk explorer.
Okay, well, we're going to leave it there, Glenn. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, but ladies and gentlemen, do your own homework. All right. This is for information gathering for you, but please do not risk a dime of your hard-earned money until you've done your research. Call Glenn up, ask him the questions, come to the Gold Conference, ask him directly what questions you want to ask, because this is exploration. Yes, it is. There's a risk factor associated to it. So as I say, we're understanding a little bit more what they're doing, but please make sure you go and do your own research. But for now, this is Kerry Stevenson from Making Money Matter, chatting to Glenn Demar from Australian Gold and Copper. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Kerry. That's great.